Well, hello and welcome to the First Strike Deadlock Tournament. I am Captain Atsoca, joined on the desk by none other than Edu. I mean, we have been seeing Deadlock literally pop up off, like, it's going all over the place. It's spreading like wildfire, and now we are finally starting to see a lot more tourneys and a lot more representation in the esports scene for this game.
Yeah, the tournaments are churning out with a lot of esports rep, as you just said at Atsoca, but also it's NA Deadlock at that, with right now us having our, First Strike series here at Colossal Tournaments. This is the second First Strike. Strike out. Actually, no, sorry, this is Strike again. Strikeout is coming if you guys want to get in on that, because we already have gone through a bracket here and signups have closed for this one. So if you are interested in joining the Strikeout, make sure to join the Discord as soon as you can. But with that being said, at Atsoca, here we have $100 on the line. This tournament, as the words of the main man behind it, it is here to really hype people up, get them ready for the bigger events that are happening over the weekends. You got some of the Deadlock core events, the showdowns that are coming up. Big prize pools are coming out, especially with, I know there's already a collegiate Deadlock scene in the works starting next semester. $5,000 on the line there. So that's a big event here just for NA collegiate. But taking a look, we're gonna jump on into the draft pick for these two teams. Let's stop talking about the big micromanage of esports. Let's talk about today. We got two teams here. What would those two teams be, Atsoca?
Well, you see, we're going to be starting off with Shoddy versus Inthos, if I'm reading that correctly, as we get ready to get this one underway. But with that being said, I'm looking so far at the bans, and you know what? Completely understandable. They did ban like two of my favorites, like off the rip, like Pocket and Lash already gone. And because I really like the divey characters, I love Pocket, I love Lash, I love characters that can penetrate the back line and just deal damage. So understandably why they're banned. As a matter of fact, for a couple of the tournaments that I've casted, Pocket actually had one of the higher ban rates. So no surprise to see them banned again. What are your thoughts so far, Edu?
Well, seeing Pocket get banned, it's honestly because, one, very annoying to try to kill that guy. Lots of great escape tools. Lash getting banned, very powerful in the team fight. But that opens up for things that I'm seeing locked in here, like the Infernus, arguably the most damage you can have for the least amount of effort in Deadlock right now. Coming out here from the team on the left is actually not Enthos. That is the team captain, the IGL, choosing what's going to be happening, picks and bans. That is Magic Carpet Enjoyers, and they are versing off against Tracklock GG. So Tracklock is going to be the team that bans Lash, and Enthos representing Magic Carpet Enjoyers. So MCE versus TLGG. So looking at this though, we do see some decent picks. Mo and Krill Infernus already for Magic Carpet Enjoyers is really strong. I mean, those two characters can pretty much single-handedly solo most of NA Deadlock. I think you're muted.
Sorry, I just realized I was muted. Goodness gracious, I'm a goofy goober. Anyway, so for my own aesthetics, I was saying, like, I like myself a good Mo and Krill, but again, just for my own I guess favoritism, I love me some Abrams. Again, I love watching Abrams. I love playing as Abrams. When I actually first booted up the game, my first main was Abrams. It's Blue Hellboy. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. How could you not like Blue Hellboy?
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing about Abrams. Blue Hellboy, very true, but also he's a little bit of that rough and stuff detective. Kind of gives me the vibe of the detective from Invincible, if you ever seen that TV show. Gives you that kind of a vibe there. But also, he's just a big, beefy punch-out character. Abrams definitely has a lot of builds, but most of them just revolve around him running up to you and beating you up. And you compare that over to some other tanks like Warden, which might require a little bit more range to them, might be able to offer a little bit more in a team fight setting as a tank, and that's where you're going to also see Kelvin. But Mo and Krill and Warden being the picks that we see here for Magic Carpet Enjoyers, I think is favorable, because yes, you do have Viscous and Paradox, and those are okay. Vicious, probably one of the strongest supports in the game right now. Team fight wise, might be running into a little bit of an issue later, but when I see these two teams, I need to see some damage start being picked up here by Tracklock GG. And to answer my prayers, they do have, alongside the Paradox, a Wraith to get locked in.
Yeah, that's honestly a great pickup because Wraith, again, phenomenal with the DPS. And you know what? I completely agree with you because right now you're looking on the other side, right? And you are looking at a good amount of DPS. Like you said, you got Infernus over there. Yeah, oh, and now they're going to be picking up the Kelvin on top of that. Now, I'll admit, like, I'm not the biggest Kelvin fan, but with the lineup that they have currently working there, I got to say that seems to be fitting quite well.
Yeah, I mean, Kelvin, Warden, Mo and Krill, these three characters have so much CC ability that they can really put a little bit of a wrench in the plans here for Tracklock. Remember, these are best of ones, and right now we are looking, if you guys are checking out the bracket, we're looking at the upper part of that bracket. So looking at this, it is going to be a little bit unfair in the CC department, so hopefully they can add enough damage to blitz out these very heavy H characters as fast as possible, and picking up a 7 might be able to do that for him, so not too shabby there.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, like 7, I get it, because for a very long time, and maybe still a little bit now, 7 was like my most hated character in the game. I can't stand 7, so annoying. But with that being said, I'm wondering, don't get me wrong, I understand a 7 pick, but I've been seeing a lot of Haze. I think Haze has been a pretty good DPS, and I'm really surprised that no one tried to pick Haze up. But, again, just like a lot of different MOBAs, just like a lot of different esports, you go with the comfort pick more often than not. And if these are the characters that they know how to use, these are the characters they're good with, then by all means. But, just for like some fun statistics, 7 currently does have the highest pick rate in the game. And then Haze right underneath.
Yeah, in all of the game. Obviously 7 though, not that popular in the highest of play. Obviously 7's one of those characters where, 7's ulting, lose the line of sight, or everybody blitz them. And when you pick a character like Vindicta, who is supposed to be picking off those characters in the back line, and when 7 pops an ultimate, well, so does Vindicta, and that's going to be the biggest counter there. So seeing the counterplay already come in this 6v6 game definitely tells me that esports is going to be heating up here. But there is still room for that Haze if they want to lock it in. But honestly, I think that this team needs more team fight. So locking in a Dynamo would be quite strong here. Maybe even locking in a McGinnis or even a Bebop. I would argue that those are the 3 that I would really want to see out of this team. Somebody who has more CC like Bebop, somebody who has a CC plus team fight like Dynamo, and instead it's actually going to be who you talked about at the beginning of our little ramblings here. It's the Ivy.
Well, and again, like you had mentioned, and it's really funny because, again, we talked about this earlier. I'm looking through like the pick rates. Ivy's not very high up on the pick rates, but I think because, like you had mentioned, Ivy's a very niche character, right? Like you said, anybody can have their pop-offs, so it takes somebody that really knows the ins and outs in Ivy to make the pop-off happen, right? But with that being said, I completely agree. I am nearly stunted that there hasn't been a Dynamo. Like, yeah. I'm really surprised no one picked up Dynamo. Honestly, Dynamo also has a pretty high ban rate. I don't want to say it's like pretty high. Like clearly, what we're seeing right here, Pocket Lash, that makes sense. Again, they have a high pick rate, but Dynamo has definitely found themselves being banned quite a few times in competitive Deadlock.
Yeah, Dynamo, obviously, here's the reason why I don't see it being picked as much as it's being banned. Really, it's about the option of a team fight. And when you're already having other characters that are just significantly stronger than Dynamo, being Owen Krill, being Kelvin, being those kind of team fight CC-oriented plays, they also have more damage output. They just scale better than Dynamo. And it's a little bit of a shame. I'm a Dynamo main. And it's a little bit saddening to not see my main be picked as often in these higher ranked games, but also Dynamo is a high skill ceiling with a very easy way to slip. You can be on your way to having a great Dynamo game, one bad ultimate or one shutdown before a team fight, and now Dynamo is just down in the dumps. That's the thing about him. His recovery time is very long. You have to build around his cooldowns. You have to build around his duration. You just have to build a lot for him to really start going online. Like Refresher, one of the most expensive items in the game, is almost required on the guy. So it's kind of why we don't get to see much Dynamo. He's just too expensive to play in a meta that's all about the early game.
Yeah, and again, we also recently went through a couple of changes with the recent updates too, so that's going to shake things up even more so as the game continues to grow and continues to change as the meta, again continues to evolve. But with that being said, I definitely love what I'm seeing. As far as the rosters and the picks are concerned, I will say though that I am liking Tracklock just because I love Viscous and I love Paradox. And like I said earlier, like I'm already, my first main was Abram, so clearly I'm biased just because of I like these characters. But again, I do like the roster, the lineup that's coming. I'm sorry, from Tracklock. And then as far as like the Magic Carpet enjoyers, again, their roster, their lineup is just as good. It's just going to be somewhat of like a different play style. Like when you're bringing these two lineups, you can clearly tell that they're building towards that certain play style.
Yeah, I will say in this game that's coming up, I love the team that we're watching from Magic Carpet enjoyers if they know how to begin that snowball. They have to start at the top of the mountain to start falling down and creating the avalanche that is this team composition. And to help with that avalanche, that snowball, is Kelvin and Infernus. These two characters can really do wonders. In Kelvin, very fast mobility, great for early game ganks. You can make space for your Invicta to start scaling. But of course, Infernus, that is the player that I'm really going to be looking at. If they can start getting some early game damage output, get the first blood, maybe start farming a little bit, then you should be fine. But on the opposite end, Tracklock GG, I'm looking over at the Paradox, another character that has a lot of early game high damage output, is a little bit on the squishier side, but that's what a quote unquote ADC is going to be really doing for you here. And same with Mirage and Abrams. You're going to want to look at how these guys are going to be able to get those early pickings and start strong. Of course, if it does end up being a both of these teams respect situation, then it is also down to who's fundamentally better at getting those last hits and avoiding getting denied.
Yeah, and you know what? That's where we're going to see, like, Abrams, Mo, and Krill really come in to get the finishing touches. Again, they are going to be the big briefy brawlers. They're going to be the ones that's going to be throwing hands at the end of the day. But at the same time, we're seeing a hefty amount of DPS coming out from the side of Tracklock. I'm so wanting to say Lock Track that I have to go back and be like, no, it's Tracklock. That's the only reason I keep tripping up on the name, because my brain is saying something else. Regardless, when we're talking about Tracklock, I'm seeing a good amount of DPS, but that's only if they can really capitalize on Seven's ult, because I feel like, now that we've progressed so far into competitive Deadlock, people have found so many ways to counter it. People have been able to really shut that ultimate down. So again, Magic Carpet enjoyers, I feel like they're going to be good enough to avoid that 7 ultimate, and that's going to be the real difference maker in my opinion. That's why I think a competitive Deadlock, like you had mentioned, we don't even see 7 being like this big main character that everybody's gunning for or looking to ban, is because as we have progressed throughout the meta, everybody is finding the Achilles heel of every player, and 7 people have pretty much figured out.
Yeah, and that is very true. I mean, he is a toaster, but you just put a toaster in a body of water, it doesn't really work that good. So I think that's the answer.
Depends who's in the tub.
Yeah, it depends on who's in the tub. And if you get too close to the toaster in that tub, you're going to get picked off. But that's where, you have players like the Kelvin, the Warden, the Mo and Krill. It's their job. Vindicta. It's these 4 players' jobs to shut down that 7, especially during an ultimate setting. But on the opposite end of things, you have Tracklock. Their job is to protect that 7, to allow this character to start snowballing as fast as possible. And then a lot of pressure is going to be built up on that Ivy as a support, Viscous as a support, and that Abrams as the tank and brawler to make space. So we're getting on into this game here at Atsoca. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top. Remember, it's a best of 1, and some of these games could end in early as 8 minutes. So hopefully we're in for a long one.
Well, we're already off to the races here. Again, we're going to be starting things off over, again, we got the Mo and Crow, we got the Kelvin coming from the Magic Carpet enjoyers. And again, you got to watch out for this Mo and Krill. They're already trying to close that gap early. You can see the Abrams kind of playing more towards that mid. And, again, this is just going to be the back and forth for a while here.
Yeah, just a little bit of a back and forth. But honestly, some of these lanes that I'm looking at, like Warden and Mirage, Kelvin and Mo and Krill, they have a lot of survivability, but that also leaves some solo laners here, being the Infernus and the Vindicta. But survivability, maybe not. Mirage already down to half, maybe less than that. Could have been picked off there. So lots of space being created early by this Viscous. So not too shabby. And somehow Mirage is still sticking around, kind of inviting a fight here.
Yeah, maybe they're going for the old bait and switch, but I don't know. Seems a little bit too risky. As you can see, that Warden also nearly taken out there. They're literally surviving by the skin of their teeth. As you can see, this first early push here towards that mid-right lane being taken now by the side of Track. I mean, again, they are looking really, really good. I mean, Tracklock, they seem to be pretty much locked in there in that lane.
Yeah, they're locked in that lane, but you look over at some of the other ones, you have, of course, oh my, is that really going to be a Ivy versus Vindicta lane? So very interesting to see who comes out on top there. Case in point, also it's going to be, actually, sorry, Ivy versus Infernus and Vindicta versus Abrams. So if you are looking at the comparables, you're comparing these two characters against each other. So right now, looks like Infernus is winning their lane against the Ivy, but on the flip side, you do have Abrams actually doing a great job farming right now.
And that's what they're supposed to be doing at the moment, you know, trying to, like you said, it's all about the early game, trying to farm as much as possible, trying to feed whoever is hungry, and again, try and get to, you know, the best equipment possible early. And that's pretty much what, you know, Abrams is pretty good at for the most part, because again, they are a little bit big or beefy, so they can push forward and still have that high survivability to where they can GTFO if need be and still have all of the souls that they have gathered in the meantime.
Let's see what the plan is now, gathering those souls, building it up, and maybe we can see some kind of setup, as so many players for Magic Carpet are low, and that could lead to some real issues later in, as there are getting some decent buys coming out, and that might be able to finish off some of these low players. That's the thing about right here, when we're at the 1500 mark, you're going to be seeing a lot more of those items being purchased. But because they're getting bullied, Mo and Krill is actually just going to be jumping on in, and we might see a little bit of damage. Kelvin completely freezing this player down. That's a free kill and first blood onto the Abrams, a gank that unfortunately really doesn't do much.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you're looking at it, and at least, you know, we're seeing like the first elimination on the board. So officially, you know, the cork has been popped, right? We have officially started this game now that the first elimination is gone and underway, and that the elimination went in the way of the Magic Carpet enjoyers. So regardless, you know, at least they're starting off with the first blood. I mean, it's not going to do you much because, as we well know, Deadlock is more about the long game, but still, it's got to feel good to get the first one.
Yeah, and instead we do see the counter trade coming on up. That is the Mirage now being picked off. So keeping alive, Tracklock with their farm looking pretty clean, but already we're seeing a decent Infernus start to hit those side camps, keep their money up, and try to get their ultimate as soon as possible. That's the thing about Infernus. Second he gets that ult online, he will be holding W and pretty much just demolishing people in his way. But Ivy winning this lane out pretty handily against this Infernus damage wise. But again, I will be looking at that Vindicta over by the Wraith. A little bit of a misspeak earlier. It is Vindicta versus Wraith there.
And you can see this Mirage again. They're trying to, you know, again, farm for themselves a little bit. They have got to get up there as well. And like you had said earlier, you know, that Infernus is looking really, really good. So if that Mirage and that Infernus can really come online together, it's going to be a really big problem there for Tracklock. As we continue on in, you know, we're checking now on this Vindictus as they are continuing again to farm for themselves. I'm sorry, Vindicta. Confused. I got Vindictus, Vindicta and Viscous put together.
Yeah, and then don't even try mixing in Infernus as well. But we are seeing some ultimates online, but it is the very nice kill from the Infernus to take him out. And surprise, surprise, people are walking away from here. Can we see him get out? Yes! By the skin of his teeth. And actually, Kelvin with the support, being able to fight well. But, oh, Abrams flying on in, finishing his team off. Kelvin managing to save the Mo and Krill for nothing. Will get gunned down there by Spooky. So, not too shabby. We're looking at Tracklock, their ragtag team. Honestly, proving to be quite the counter here to a lot of these picks.
Yeah, and that was a pretty nasty gank, I'm not gonna lie. It's so frustrating whenever I get ganks, you know, but when I'm watching it, you know, from the sidelines and I see someone else get ganked, I'm like, you know what, that was a great play. But anyone that does it to me, no, I hate you instantly, forever. Regardless, again, now we're seeing the eliminations really start to pile in, and right now Tracklock just seems to be on top of it.
Ooh, that stun combo, but the divine barrier saving your teammate and now being able to finish it off. Will you get the Kelvin? You got to reload first. Barely around the corner. You can't run. That is the Kelvin down. And what a lead right now, kill percentage wise, over to Tracklock. But again, because you have that Infernus still managing to farm, they're keeping their team alive, and it's only a 3K deficit.
Yeah, it's really not too bad. Again, remember, Deadlock is a elongated game. It's all about the long game. It's all about you know, who can pretty much just last. But like you had mentioned earlier, you know, the key moments are in that early game. So if this is a telltale sign of anything, it's that Tracklock, you know, is setting themselves up to win, because they are getting the eliminations early here.
Yeah, they're getting them early. They're doing real well. But now let's see what they can do in the new kills percentage. Infernus is gone. The lead is definitely going to be quite gapped here. Now, if Viscous can get out, they should be fine to just keep all of that money, all of them secured souls back in their pockets. And let's talk about how the souls work right now. Did you know they most recently added a patch where if you're wanting to grab that soul urn and you're winning, it is benefiting the losing team on the net worth wide. So honestly, even though it is an early lead here for Tracklock, that new change could actually make Magic Carpet have a way to get back in this game.
Yeah, and you know what? I think those changes are necessary, to be completely honest, because you don't want to, again, Deadlock takes a while. You know, we see like 30 minutes, sometimes to an hour games. So you really don't want to have a team that has no chance, you know, going throughout an entirely long game. You know, you always want to have a sense that you can make a comeback. You can try and claw back into the game. So again, I like those changes, given that, you know, it's never truly over until it's, you know, it's too far gone.
Yeah, a little bit too far gone, though. Could be where we see this game going, as so far 6K lead back over to Tracklock. A little bit of a reset for them, but the Paradox hunting and finding the Kelvin. The stun, is it enough to actually secure the kill? No, but the harassment's just enough, and Paradox just says, okay, I did my job, time to farm again. So honestly, this amount of space being created by one of the strongest DPS in the game is pretty scary for Magic Carpet enjoyers.
Yeah, and you see, that's the one thing that I really like about Paradox as well, is because I like the abilities that they're able to purchase, you know, going forward. Again, I think that the headshot multiplier on the burst weapon just makes them such a danger. And once again, look at this Kelvin, just at the mercy of Tracklock, being hunted down. And of course, Paradox was the one that was on their tail for so long. Like, don't get me wrong, they get the kill assist, they didn't get credit for the kill, but come on, Padlock was the one that literally hunted them down. Or I'm sorry, Paradox. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Padlock.
Padlock, Paradox. I mean, they got a lock on the game, that's for sure. But you look at this Vindicta trying to keep that money up, now getting ganked, and unfortunately for the ganker, just getting scared away by this sniper who's got the aerial advantage, has what they need. But look at how this game's going. Objective-wise, you are seeing Magic Carpet enjoyers finally back on with this fight, cooking up with a double down. That's what you get for getting a little bit greedy, but now it's the time to fight, and it's a dead Infernus. Wait, no, he's jumping back in to finish the Abrams off. Ooh, what a pickup, and that's 3 for 2. Decent trade. Oh, make it 3 for 3.
I mean, regardless, we're finally starting to see Magic Carpet enjoyers really start to wake up here. As now you can see they're going to be getting rid of the Viscous as well. That is huge for Magic Carpet enjoyers, who are looking once again to try and even the odds. Granted that, you know, they managed to come back and they're only down 1K gold, if that. They were even. It was 45 to 45. So, I mean, as of now, you know, Magic Carpet enjoyers are pretty much back in this thing. I mean, it's not really like they ever left, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not like they have ever left, but wait a minute, you still have now a lead completely shattered here thanks to that team fight. Now, I will say, Viscous losing out on his life there, you still have to worry about the person that hasn't died yet. Remember that 7 you talked about? He's had all the space in the world. He's now in double digits when it comes to quadruple digits, really. I mean, quintuple digits. He's just constantly climbing up in the souls department, 10,000 souls here, and hasn't really had anybody to stop him yet. Also, I love Viscous. The fact that this just works, that's just crazy. The man just went all the way across the map in what, 5 seconds?
Yep, Spooky being able to use the goo ball to collect the urn. Again, that is big because you keep in mind that not so long ago, these two teams were tied in gold, and now all of a sudden, or rather souls, my league is talking, I said gold, but now you can see that they have a 4K lead in souls. Not bad at all. And now you can see one of the Guardians are down, and we are once again finding ourselves in an ever escalating team fight as now the Abrams comes in with the Viscous to try and end off this Infernus.
Ooh, ending him off, and the stuns, the shocks. It's just an Infernus who's just getting too much CC there, punished outright. But you talk about punishment, that's the Vindicta getting the vengeance down, taking out Mirage in the opportune moment that they could. If you leave the site open, you all will get these picks. Now we can see some objective gaming happen here as we are now taking another Guardian. This is what I'm going to be looking at. That 7 and this Vindicta are going to be going at it back and forth, but the 7 again, he's got some money in his hands and probably an ultimate here that he might want to use.
Yeah, I'll be honest. They were feeding the homie because for a minute there, like we're looking at 7, right? I was keeping my eyes on Infernus and the Warden because again they were coming up very, very quickly. But at the same time, like just as quickly as I was noticing Infernus and Warden, the 7 got another 3K in souls. Like my goodness, they are eating, and they are eating well over there for Tracklock.
Rio is now jumping down on the Warden. Lots of damage output, and God, the movement of this player, Spooky. Just, I mean, live it up to the name. This is some crazy gameplay, and yeah, will open the door for his teammate to take the kill, making sure that the support will keep the carry fed. So not too shabby there. Again, amazing playstyle from Spooky.
You know what's crazy? You know, Infernus reminds me of like a BioShock character. Like, you know, in BioShock, you can just shoot fire out of your hands. Yeah,
it's
given,
straight up BioShock.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, the setting that we're in is giving BioShock, you know, giving a little bit of rapture. But regardless, getting right back into the action, you could already see right now that this Viscous, the goo god themselves, trying to hunt down that Mirage, decides to be a merciful goo god and let them live another day.
Ooh, big ult here from the Kelvin, now wanting to jump on in. It's 3v1 here, and it is a frozen Guardian. It couldn't even react to watching that, but now the Viscous now sliding in with their ultimate, rolling and rumbling up the players. A great amount of damage onto the Vindicta on the sidelines, but it's the real pickups here of these players' mobility. Kelvin being able to slide on out and get out of dodge. Luckily, it's only going to be one player to fall. Just kidding. It is the Kelvin to get overheated and punished. So not too shabby of a cleanup there from Tracklock GG. And oh wait, Mirage wanting to get into their own little scrap here.
And now you see, this is a character that I still need to learn more. And I'm not saying study, like I've done my homework. I mean, actually get experience, because I'm trying to play as much time as I can with every character. Like when I go and run unranked, or if I go play casual, you know, whatever. I haven't played that many hours logged into Mirage yet, and I feel like I need to. Meanwhile, we're getting right back to it in Paradox, not missing a beat.
Yeah, not missing a beat, and the 7 utility nearly finishing the blow, but we will see one player eventually fall. And wait a minute, Vindicta shot out of the sky, the high ground taken, and a fight on the rooftops ensues. Will we see Mirage punished outwards? Yes, but the Amber Guardian has fallen, and that means all Guardians are down for Magic Carpet, and that could be a tough position, as now we're going to start seeing those big walkers start to get fought.
I don't know, maybe I'm like brain dead, or just smooth brained, but I feel like the walkers are just easier to take down. I mean, it's a bigger target, they take up a lot more area, and I don't know why, they're just so much fun. I feel like I feel like when I play, I take them down a lot faster, and again, it gives me like that semblance of like the big bad boss fight. It's a spider, and it's just very satisfying to take them down.
Yeah, talking about satisfying to take down, punishing the Mo and Krill for an ult, a solo ult on that, and yeah, great damage, but it's the turnaround from Sample. It's the turnaround here from the Warden to keep up the DPS, but Wraith coming on in, might be punished with someone flying through their high ground, and a shot here almost takes out Spooky, and Wick, the Mirage, will finish the job. So pretty solid play style here from Magic Carpet enjoyers. They allowed the enemy team to get them in the early game, but now in this mid game, they've really changed things around. And to add on to your point about the little bit of damage going a long way at Atsoca, it's because these guys are fed now. When you are fighting the Guardians early, you don't have any items. Now, these guys are hella fed. Case in point, they're getting picks.
And you see, this is what is crazy, because so many times we have seen Tracklock come away with a pretty huge lead, right? They were able to get the soul earn. They were able to really capitalize on some of this early pressure, some of these early limbs, and we seen them get like at least like a 5K lead in souls. And now all of a sudden, once again, we were tied, and you can see slowly but surely, once again, Tracklock trying to just eke ahead. But my point is that even though it may seem like one-sided at one point in time, like unironically, this is still a very even match. Like the numbers will deceive you.
Yeah, and you can't really let them deceive you, but you might have to. Looking at the numbers now, you're looking at, of course, the KDs right here. You're looking at some of these players who are pretty much just farming right now. Infernus, a player that I put a lot of focus on because of his ability to farm and do damage early, has only a 2 to 4 KD. Not the best. So we need to see that turnaround fast. But when you have a soul earn going over to the weaker team, now they're in the lead. The little bit of a change really helped out, and they're actually starting to jump on people. But as they're doing earn things, they are earning a lost walker.
They're going to hit the teleporter there and try and make their way oh so quickly to turn in the urn. Meanwhile, again, we do have a couple of fights going out. Now the Infernus ult underway, trying to hunt down the 7. They catch him in the corner, and they cannot go anywhere. Trippy gets gunned down.
Oh, big damage here. Big damage indeed. And now we're going to be seeing a little bit of a catch-up. Mirage will not be able to get on out. You might have taken out the 7, but at what cost? We're looking at Vindicta shooting off the sidelines and somehow hitting their shots. Love this game. Definitely not in early development. But looking at that, we might see the finishing blow. And yes, we do. And even more, Ivy trying to slam on in. It's a 1v1, but now you have the Mirage flying on in and helping out. But oh my god, Infernus does not want to finish what he started. He can't.
Yeah, you see, me and Vindicta have a lot in common, because that's how I aim my weapons whenever I play FPS games. You know, same thing, same way. So yeah, Vindicta, I like what I'm seeing there on the field. Regardless, you can see once again, I mean, we're looking at the Guardians, and they are just falling right now for the side. Like you said, the Guardians are already gone, but now I'm referring to the Walkers, right? You know, that back line for the side of the Magic Carpet Enjoyers. They are just crumbling.
Just crumbling. And now, unfortunately, you know, we talk about Magic Carpet Enjoyers having a very solid team comp, but they just weren't able to actually perform with it. These are high skill characters, and early in this game you're seeing leads develop quickly, but it's also about objectives. And objective wise, you have lost every single Guardian. You've lost now 2 of your walkers, enabling some new flex slots to be unlocked here for Tracklock. Tracklock has pretty much got everything that they need to just end out this game. And, you know, that's exactly the Tracklock we know here at First Strike. If you guys have been sticking around, if you didn't know, First Strike has been here for Tracklock to win. They won First Strike number 1 pretty handily. And getting into the second one, looks like they want to have a repeat of that last event.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, especially with the way that they're playing tonight. I mean, so far so good. Like you mentioned, you know, not only have they been able to pretty consistently take the lead in souls, but they have also been winning the KD. I mean, that's been pretty self-evident. And like we had mentioned earlier, you know, we have our own, you know, grievances and biases towards certain characters, but at the end of the day, I mean, we're watching right now Tracklock really put in work with every single character. Like I don't want to say like, oh, you know, there's this one particular player on this one particular character that is the MVP. I feel like everyone on Tracklock is doing pretty much MVP status right now.
Oh, absolutely. MVP status for sure, and probably going to be able to keep it up. I mean, that's a funny thing about these players is they are online for a reason. They're here competing in this event to warm up for the big ones, and they are doing a great job opening up with the Ivy, your favorite character, really just cooking up here with a little bit of damage. And yep, this Viscous, just so clean. Another picking down, and honestly, at this point, you have such a good lead. You can go for mid boss.
Now, hang on real quick. I do like me some Ivy, but they're not my favorite character. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a chance. Try and figure out who my favorite character is, and I'll even help you out. Even though I main Abrams, it's not them.
Even though you main Abrams, is not them. Dynamo.
No, it's McGinnis. McGinnis is actually my favorite character. If it were up to... Well, because again, I think McGinnis is just like a really awesome support. Like, you know how I told you earlier, I love characters that can penetrate backline, while I also like backline characters. You know, I love the turrets, I love the support, and I think McGinnis also pairs well with Bebop, and I think that's a really fun team play to always get into. So yeah, my favorite character is actually McGinnis. I love McGinnis.
Yeah, I would say McGinnis definitely has an interesting kit. For a MOBA sake, very reminiscent of, you know, some other characters in MOBA. Definitely, you know, turret style. If you think of Zyra over on League of Legends, if you think of Dota, you have some characters like Earthshaker's Wall, kind of reminiscent of how it, you know, the stylization is, and maybe even the playstyle being able to just completely cut people off from a lane. So looking at this though, getting into this game, you do have, you know, one of a character you play a lot of, the Abrams, actually getting into a little bit of a fight here.
Well, if they weren't, they wouldn't be doing their jobs, to be completely honest. If the Abrams not throwing hands, throwing big blue monster hands, then you need a new Abrams. But meanwhile, you are right. We are seeing it go down now. We're getting into a big team fight, and it's really going both ways here. You can see a trade already being taken. RIP to Abrams and Vindicta, as they are going to be the first to fall in this exchange.
First to fall in the exchange, and now keeping it going with some big picks. There goes the Ivy as well to join on up in the destruction. And now mid-boss ready, 22 minutes in the game. We are seeing now a new entry, a new fight. The urns picked up, and now a few picks might be picked up if we can see this team regroup, re-hit, reassess, and maybe go for some objectives. Remember, there hasn't been much change for the favor of Magic Carpet. They haven't really done much outside of deposit some urns, but they need to start taking out some of these walkers.
Yeah, they really do. And not only that, but the souls are also getting away from them. That's why you saw the Warden going for the urn there. But now here comes Viscous again. They got caught up in the Kelvin ult, but they managed to get away thanks to a little help from the teammates. And now Paradox able to ult out and get out of danger themselves. As you can see now, they look as though they are in full retreat.
That's it. Full retreat. We are seeing them now push on up with a little bit of damage, but it's a little sad that we haven't seen any mid-boss fight yet. And I think that it really could have came about 3.5 minutes ago when we saw that last team fight that really went in the favor here of Tracklock. But they're taking their time. They know that they're in a lead. They know that the enemy just got the urn, so the enemy might be able to get some good stuff. But first off, you got to get a pick if you want to start mid-boss. And here's a pick for us. It's Kelvin. Bye-bye, Kelvin. And Infernus running on in might be able to get vengeance for his team, just trying to dump as much as he can into this Paradox. But will he actually finish the job?
I think they could, because look where they're trapped right now, inside. But oh, the phone, here comes the cavalry. But I mean, my goodness, the Infernus is still alive. Out of all of the eliminations we just seen, I'm surprised Infernus is the one that's still standing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a sacrificial play by, you know, the three players that did die. The Moan Grill, the Mirage, and the Kelvin all flying on in there to try to back him up and help out the damage. Unfortunately, made the trades not that worth it, unless you calculate the fact that it is the carry, Infernus, who got the money. And in Dota, if you have a 3-for-2 fight and you give that damage over to like a Phantom Assassin in the late game, well, you probably just lost the game. That's the thing. Infernus is the PA of this game right now in the amount of damage they can do in such a short amount of time.
Well, here we are, and you're currently thinking, why aren't they going to mid boss? Because honestly, I'm also thinking the same thing, waiting for that fight to engage. But also you got to keep in mind is that, you know, the mid boss, you can also steal it very, I don't want to say easily, but you know, it happens a good amount of the time when you can just yank a mid boss fight. So I'm wondering who's going to be, you know, the first to try and go for it. Like you said, you know, we're still waiting on like maybe a big team play, big pick for that mid boss to go into play, because right now, honestly, I feel like Magic Carpet enjoyers, they probably need it the most when you're looking at the gold disparity, almost 10k in souls. And I said gold again. I need to get League out of my brain. This is Deadlock.
This is in fact Deadlock here. And honestly, you know, when we're thinking about it, souls, gold, it all sounds so similar, but at the end of the day, I'm also looking at the way that it gets played out. You know, League of Legends has 0 verticality compared to this game. I mean, we're seeing people up on the roof. It ain't isometric top down. It is third person. It is time to be the third person to maybe bank an urn here, as we're on that one to maybe find some openings for this team. But at the end of the day, look at the objectives in the middle of the screen. When will Magic Carpet enjoyers start going for these walkers?
I mean, that is a good question. I'll be honest. I've seen Magic Carpet enjoyers more often than not go for the urn. As you can see, Viscous now from Tracklock trying to go for that urn as well. They're trying to catch up in the souls, as it were. And I mean, clearly on the side of Tracklock, they don't have that problem. They're up now 11K in souls. So you know what? I really don't know. When Magic Carpet enjoyers are going to try and start going for those OBJs. I mean, because at this point, I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely true. What else can you do? The fact of the matter is you're looking at some of the players here for Tracklock. They are filling up their flex slot. You look on over at the Magic Carpet enjoyers. They haven't been able to unlock a single one yet. So with no flex slots, they're actually just going to be significantly weaker, but they're still managing to upgrade these weapons, get these picks, trade the urn in their favor, and steal it at the last second. Kelvin going for an ultimate here does trap people in, but unfortunately, it's a little bit of a bad position for him. And now the fight will break out with damage. Infernus flying on in. The nuke will be online, but there's too many people falling. Now 2 down here for Magic Carpet. Infernus wanting to finish off a kill, but unfortunately biting off more than he can chew. He's so low, he's gone. That's 4 players for the cost of 1, and it's just the Vindicta, who might be able to finish off the IV, but gets finished off themselves, leaving Mirage, who is in an alleyway doing something.
Now we go mid boss. Let's go mid boss. Got a big team kill. Okay, only the Mirage remains. We could definitely go and try and hunt them down, sure, but you got to take this opportunity now. You got to go for the mid boss. You got plenty of time, and here we are. Great minds think alike, Edgy. We're finally here.
Well, welcome to the mid boss, guys. It only took us 27 minutes to get here, and it is already dying. And if you didn't know, it's not called mid boss. It's called Temple Guardian, which I'm not going to use that name. I hope it gets changed. I want there to be an interesting, unique name, like Dota has Roshan, League has Baron. I want something neater than Temple Guardian, because that just sounds like the monkeys that chase you in Temple Run.
Great game, though. I mean, let me rephrase. Great game for the time it came out. Like, you got to keep in mind, that was like one of the first real video game apps.
Yeah, the first video game app I ever downloaded on my iPhone, my first ever iPhone in 2008 was what was an iGun. Remember iGun?
Oh, what, dude, we can stay all night long on the nostalgia train, but we got to get right back into it. But I couldn't agree more. I mean, that was a big play that we have seen come out, and we're looking once again at that KD, and my goodness, Tracklock, as we have said many times before, is absolutely locked in. 36 eliminations so far.
Wow. 36 eliminations, and of course you're looking on at the mid-boss buff. The Rejuvenator, I should say, is going to be allowing this team to start getting that confidence to push aggressively, and they're flying on in here. They're doing the damage. Bye-bye to the external base bosses, as that is Amber going right on up with the push in, and now this could be the end of the game. They have everything that they need: the lead, the power, the objectives, setting them up for success, and unfortunately it's just going to be Shrine, then Patron, then Game.
Well, let's see it come to fruition here, as already they are working on the shrines, as the Amber Shrine is going to be going down, and you know what? Once one domino falls, the rest tend to follow. But the respawns do come in now for the side of Magic Carpet enjoyers, as they are able to rally back a little bit and keep the likes of Tracklock at bay, as it is going to be a full-on retreat.
Yeah, full-on retreat here. Pretty set up for this play. At the end of the day, it is also interesting reset from Tracklock. I mean, backing themselves out here, keeping all of the Rejuvenator online. They're just going to try to re-hit the same way, and this time finish what they started in that base. They took out some of the shrines on the side. Now it's Patron time. They're playing this very paced proper. So I'm hoping that's going to work, but I see that they're focusing on some of the DPS that are straggling in this lane here. We can see a start of a team fight.
It definitely seems like that is what is brewing, but you got to keep in mind, Tracklock, I don't think they're worried about a team fight. They still have that Rejuvenator buff from the mid-boss, so I can imagine them diving full head on into any fight. They have like you said, they have the confidence now, because they have the money, they have the the souls, as it were, and then they have they have the abilities, they have the equipment, and they have everything. They are feeling really, really good here in the late game.
True. They are absolutely cooking up a little bit here. So let's see what they can do about it. Of course, I'm also looking at Tracklock, who now no longer has a Rejuvenator. I know they might have spent a little bit too much time backing that they are now going to have to wait for another mid-boss reset if we want to see another explosive push like that. So this game, even though it could have ended 2 minutes ago, is going to probably end in about 10 unless this team just gets an absolute banger of a team fight.
Yeah, agreed. But at the same time, anytime that you get the mid-boss, it's still a dub, only because even though if you don't use the mid-boss to its fullest potential and you don't make the most out of it, at least you keep it out of the hands of the other team. So regardless, there's small wins here and there when it just from taking like OBJs, just from, doing that extra jungle, right? Getting that urn, all of it at the end of the day, it does have its small benefits, no matter how minuscule. It still adds to the overall win.
Yeah, it just adds to the overall win. Looks like the Deadlock network is offline, but it'll come back eventually. But what will have to come back is this team for Magic Carpet enjoyers. Right now, we're looking at a decent split here. Again, though, objectives are finally catching up. We still have Tracklock now holding on to some walkers, only 2 remaining in mid, but outside of that, you will have a push potential here for Magic Carpet, and if they can manage to get another flex slot, then we're gonna have what is considered, a lot of players have, is the Soul Plateau, where there's no real point of getting extra farm outside of just having it. So let's see how far Ivy's gonna be jumping in here with this bomb.
Yeah, well, they are looking. They're looking to drop the artillery strike. Meanwhile, you can see Infernus trying to deal some damage from the outside in. Is already that. Unfortunately, Mirage gets dealt with first. And now that you're this far late in the game and you see that respawn timer constantly going up and up and up, every single elimination, every single pick is going to be monumental.
Yeah, monumental for value and also for space as the soul urn is returned, and more money comes the way of Tracklock. Again, they're just keeping that lead right now. We're looking at nearly 50,000 if we can see them just get over this corner here. So I don't know, with the lead in the money and the insane damage of that Abrams, he just 3-hit a base boss. And now he's just gonna fly on in and do some damage.
See, this is one of the many reasons why I love Abrams. Can you just imagine, you're in a shooter. I mean, as they are clearly are able to get the elimination on Vindicta, and now you can see Kelvin and the rest. They're literally, Abrams is going into their spawn. My good, I mean, dude, the gusto on this guy. But as I was saying, like one of the many reasons why I like Abrams is because imagine, you're playing an FPS, you're playing any shooter, and then someone comes and murks you with a book.
I mean, knowledge is power, and right now you're seeing a team with a whole lot of knowledge. They know how to play this game better than the enemy team. Tracklock GG is going to be ending this outright with now the patron fully exposed. It's weakened, and it is Abrams just camping, and Ivy with the save.
Yoink.
Probably going to be the end here.
Yeah, and again, like I said, Ivy's that niche character, and yeah, it is very much looking like the end, and it will be the end. What a game coming from Tracklock. Again, like you had even mentioned, they started early with the eliminations. It's all about that early game. They literally built themselves up for success, and success they had. Well played, GGs, but also, big GGs to Magic Carpet enjoyers as well. You got to keep in mind, they had to work their way to get here, right? They definitely put in the work. They are a team that is 100% formidable, and I don't even think that they really made it easy, for their opponents either. Tracklock, they definitely had to put in the work, and they had to come through with the big eliminations. And look at this, none other than Killy Ewo. That's how I'm gonna say your name. I apologize. You got a lot going on in there. Killy Ewo with the Abrams. Top fragging at 9, but so is the Viscous Spooky. How many times we said their name throughout the entire game?
Yeah, I mean, Spooky definitely brought the damage output here. And, you look over at that, lots of kills, lots of DPS, everything looking pretty dang cool. So, with that 9-kill tie, I will say, what a player to look out for. Spooky on that Viscous, the initiator, and the support, and just an amazing player to watch. We are going to continue to watch later in the grand finals. For now, we have to see who's going to be taking the cake versus Unknown against Deadlock Demons. That's our second semifinal that will be coming up again. Semis is a best of one. Grand finals is a best of one. So if you are still with us Stick around, because we will have the Unknown versus Deadlock Demons coming on up.